Hello, and welcome to our presentation about child trafficking. In this presentation, we will be exploring the ways child trafficking affects society. The four topics we will look into today is the definition of child trafficking, why it occurs, how it affects society, and child trafficking in Thailand. Near the end of this video, we've prepared an interview to find out what society thinks about child trafficking. So, what is child trafficking?
Child trafficking is a modern form of slavery, an ever-growing system of child exploitation, abuse, and violation of children's rights. Child trafficking occurs when children are taken away from safety and exploited for the needs of others, such as sexual exploitation, forced labor, criminal activity, forced marriage, and domestic work. They are often forced into labor and are abused in various ways.
Now that we know what child trafficking is, why does it occur?
Traffickers can be individuals or small groups recruiting a small number of children, often from the area they know and live in. Medium-sized groups that employ, move, and abuse large crime networks, often small or internationally active, can deal with high levels of corruption, money laundering, and large number of victims. Traffickers are able to observe the vulnerability of the child and apply grooming techniques to gain trust. Such techniques address the unmet needs of the child, including praise, value, worth, and gifts, making the individual feel special or unique. Isolating the child from social networks and vilifying potentially helpful authorities can also be used. Tactics such as manipulation and deception can also be used to build psychological scaffoldings around the child for a short time before insidious psychological abuse such as blackmail, abuse, exploitation which are labored over with love, value, or sole provision of human needs. These traffickers profit from the money the children earn through exploitation, forced labor, and crime, often described as a way for children to pay back their debt.
Traffickers use devious ways to take advantage of vulnerable children. We will now discuss how these methods affect their physical and mental well-being.
So, children who are child trafficked experience violence, torture, and degradation, be it from the hands of sex buyers, work managers, gang members, traffickers, and etc. All forms of abuse have severe psychological, developmental, and health impact on victims. There are signs that a child has been trafficked. These include rarely leaving the house, having no time to play, living apart from family, or being involved in gang activities.
Thailand's human trafficking victims are mostly from Myanmar, Cambodia, and Laos. Women are most commonly trafficked within the sex tourism industry, while men are trafficked into the fishing industry. Organizers of trafficking in Thailand tend to be fishermen or female Thai or Burmese nationals with links to organized crime gangs. Vulnerable men, women, and children are targeted by gangs and mafias to work in the sex trade in Thailand. The sex trade is common in Thailand's large tourist cities where prostitution is legal. The sexual exploitation of children who are sold as sex slaves runs rampant. In order to understand more about how victims of child trafficking feel, we picked out two personal stories given by survivors. Nicole, a 17-year-old girl who was a victim of human trafficking, now helps the FBI catch criminals in charge. She fell into the world of human trafficking because she liked how the man she met was gorgeous and had charm. She wanted someone in her life to show her attention. He told her that she could make good money fast, but 7 months later, she was treated harshly. She was sexually and physically assaulted. She felt like she was tied to him because she didn't have anything. No money, no car, no house. She had no one to go to. Him is a 60-year-old waitress at a karaoke bar along with 3 other teenagers in Chiang Mai, Thailand. These girls told social workers after a police raid that they were not forced to do anything they didn't want to do. Although these girls did not see this work as unlawful, officials state that this is a form of human trafficking as the owners are using the girls for their own monetary gain. And lastly, here's an interview with an undergraduate student in Singapore. I
I think child trafficking is when bad people take advantage of children and force them to do malicious acts against their will. Because the things they experienced were very traumatizing, I don't think they'll be able to return to their normal lives, as they're constantly reminded of the evil in this world. I think it's because not enough people know about it and they only focus on problems they can see. Child trafficking is not as commonly shown on the media, but I think it is still just as important because this is a huge human rights violation and more people should be talking about it.
Thank you for your attention. I hope this presentation provided you with an informative perspective on the effects of child trafficking on society.